because I know Dan is. All right, everybody, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys for being you. You're awesome. So now we're going to go ahead. If y'all want to stand up, everyone, we're going to sing to our Heavenly Father. Give you my life, I give you my trust, Jesus. And you are my God, and you are enough, Jesus. My was crazy. And, you know, being on that lake with the clouds around us and a little bit of rain falling kind of put me in remembrance of the time that Jesus calmed the water. And those disciples were in the boat and it was raging. And it just put me in the mindset, like, you know, there's been times, especially here lately, that I felt like that boat that those disciples were in, where it's just flipping and flopping and you're going crazy and you don't know what's going to happen. But Christ, when you let Christ come in, He calms those seas. Amen. Amen. He calms those seas. Let's worship. Let's worship. presence this morning. And thank you for showing up, Holy Spirit. Lord, you are amazing. You are an amazing, amazing Father. Thank you so much for all the fathers that are here. And thank you for who they are in our lives and what they mean for us. God, I pray that you would use Matthew this morning and open our hearts, Lord, that we may receive your word. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you guys for that.
Shoot.
First, if I could have, can you guys hear me all right? Mic one, there we go. All right, good stuff. If I could have my graduates come up here and see me real quick. My recent graduates.
Oh,
All right,
push that wrong.
cool. Here, Cheyenne, you all just want to have a seat right there on the front. I've got something for you here this morning, finally. Told you I was going to have it a couple weeks in a row now, and it finally came. Couldn't find it anywhere, but I want to tell you guys something. This is my study Bible that I use at home, all right? And I'm talking to them, but you all get to listen, okay? But when I was in 2008, 2007, I was on mission in Peru, and I had a genuine leather version of this. It was so cool. The only genuine leather Bible I had ever owned at that point. And it wasn't bonded leather or anything like that. I was so proud of this Bible. And it was the New Inductive Study Bible. It was the leather version of this. And that was the Bible that God was using to kind of bring me through the scriptures from beginning to end. And that was when I was really running through it on the first time through, all the way through. And I had gotten, and that's the hardest way to kind of try to read your Bible through, from cover to cover. That's tough. But at that point, I was all the way up to like Proverbs. And so I had kind of like passed some of the biggest humps. And I was going, past through Leviticus and Numbers, and some of those a little bit tougher to study. But I stopped at a little cafe while I was on mission down there. I was down there for about a semester. And I sat my bag down next to me, and I had this awesome sandwich. And then I got to leave, and my bag was gone. Somebody had stolen my bag. And there was nothing of value to anybody that would have taken that bag, in that bag. There was no money. My passport wasn't in there. It was just, I had a copy of my passport, like a laminated sheet of it, but my Bible, all my notes and everything, it was gone. And most likely everything that was in that bag was going to put in a dumpster somewhere. They didn't make the score they were hoping to. But when I got back, the guy, his name was Brett Whittington, the guy who discipled me, he knew that I had lost my Bible. And he knew what a tragedy that was, someone who likes to make notes in their Bibles. I mean, and you can see throughout my Bible, I've got various markings all throughout, colors and pictures and highlights and everything. And I lost all that. And so he went out and he gave me this Bible. And he got the hardcover version because it is cheaper than the leather version. But it's been actually a blessing to me because I like the hardcover pretty well. But he wrote it in front of me. He says, "To Matt from Brent to Matt." And he wrote this passage in there, 1 Thessalonians 3:8. I thought, how cool is that? I didn't think anything about it at the time. But I looked back at that passage, it just caught my eye one day. I looked back at that passage whenever, after I just started here, actually. And let me read it because this was like one of those, as I tell people, I have a Hot Wheel car testimony. And I can look back in my life and I see God doing this with my life, like with a Hot Wheel car. Steered me through this, He got me away from that, He put me through this experience. And so I have a Hot Wheel car testimony. And so then, here I am, I'm opening my Bible up to study. I can't remember, what is that verse that Brett wrote in the very front of my Bible? And I went and looked at that, 1 Thessalonians 3:8. For now we really live, if you stand firm in the Lord. And I thought, And all throughout my time with Brett, he was always asking, are you sure you're not supposed to be a pastor? This is years, I guess before 2007, for multiple years, and it was like, if the Lord's called me to do something like that, He's never shown me that. And I just kind of brushed it off and kept going. And I thought, how cool is it that I actually have this note that a friend wrote for me in my Bible here, and now I am pastoring at Real Life Church. And so, that's there. Howdy. Are you a graduate?
Eventually.
Okay, you're not a graduate yet, not this year.
High school, yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Sweet. You're sitting in the right spot.
At some point.
Okay, well, cool. Hey, you're sitting in the right spot. What's your name?
Jordan?
Jordan, I'm Matthew. You graduated high school?
Yeah.
3 years ago? Okay, well then this is kind of for you, but mainly for this one. But so that was written there in front of the Bibles, and I've got something for y'all here. And I brought my Bible to show you that it made them look a little different since I had mine. But this is the new Inductive Study Bible. You probably already have, you may have a Bible at home already that you study from, and that's awesome. Don't feel pressured to use this, but I want to show you something else that's there, okay? I wrote in the front of your Bibles just a couple of little things there in the front, and that verse is there, but for a different reason, because you're getting it from Real Life Church. And so now we really live. We stand firm in the Lord. But there's another verse there, 2 Timothy 2:15, that says to study or to be diligent to show yourself approved unto God, and work needs not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of God. And that's what this Bible is going to teach you. It says a work in there. It's work. Digging out God's truth and applying it to your life is work. And you're going to look through this Bible, and it says Study Bible in the front. There are no notes in that Bible. Okay? There's lots of blank spaces for you to provide the notes. You supply the notes. But it will teach you how to go through the inductive study method, how to observe the Scriptures, how to interpret it, how to begin to apply it to your life. And that's, for me, that's been one of the big blessings in my life, is to have a Bible that's taking me through and saying, no, this is not what this means, but this is how to take it apart and find out what it means. And so that's there for you guys, and just wanted to just have a little something for you guys, just to say congrats, we love you, and thanks for being here. So, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, all right, so I'm going to transition here real quick. Kate, did you come help me out? Now, speaking of workmen, I've got something for dads. And Kate, you can go and start giving them out. If you're a dad, would you just kind of wave, and Kate can come by. For right now, we're just focusing just on the dads. I know at Mom's Day we did like flowers for everybody, but we're just kind of doing this for dads just right now. So if you're a dad, and don't forget I'm up in the sound booth. I know a lot of churches, they give out like, a spiffy little book for dads or something, Devos for dads kind of thing. And those are great and all, but they're great and all, but so many times they just wind up on a desk somewhere, and or if they even make it home, they get tossed in a drawer. And I said, I'm like, I want to give guys something that they could use and something that's going to be memorable. And this to me is something that's very practical. It's a little tape measure, and it's 6 feet, and so yeah, it's something you can throw in your truck. And I mean, this is Stanley Fatmax, okay? It's just a little guy. So I mean, like, this is a good tape measure, okay? It's just a little one is all. And the other day I was making a backstop for a blitzball. Anybody ever played blitzball? Pretty cool. Like you can make that ball do some weird things as it's coming fast at you, and all you got to do is just hit the strike zone at the end, and you can call it a strike. But that ball might do a loop before it gets to you, and so there's no chance you have it hitting. It's a pitcher's game. But I had to make a backstop for it, and so something this small. You got everything? You got them all? All right. Go ahead and let's put the last one. Just go ahead and take it on the back there to the back table, and just leave it back there for a second. Thanks, Dave. And but here's the thing. It's I could have used this that day, because I didn't have anything longer than 6 feet. It's a good tape measure, but dads, you guys are workmen in your own homes and families. And there in the scriptures there, when it talks about it, says, rightly dividing the word of truth. Literally, that's what it means. It means to rightly, or to rightly divide, or to cut straight, to cut right. And so literally how to take apart the scriptures, but in the same sense, just like you would with this tape measure, you're going to measure twice and cut once, as they say. In the same way, you're a workman in your homes, and you're a workman in your homes, and I wanted to give you something to kind of help you remember that. So throw it in your truck. Anytime you're doing something, you're like, man, I wish I had a tape measure. You have a little 6-foot tape measure with you. And I hope you remember that you have a responsibility. You're a workman. All right. So you can go ahead and be opening your Bible this morning to Genesis chapter 4. We're going to be starting in verse 17. And it kind of flows right in as well, because these guys that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, these guys were workmen for themselves. They were workmen, but they were different kinds of workmen. Now, when you look at the passage of scripture that we're getting ready to do, you're going to be like, oh, wow, what? Genealogy? He's going to do that? And to be real honest, when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, is this the part I just skip? Just skip this and just go on and talk about Noah? And I was like, no, I think there's something here for us. And so I started to study it more and more. And I was like, wow, there's definitely something here for us. And so, because honestly, whenever I read the scriptures, I don't know about you, but whenever I look at the genealogies and scriptures, I kind of think of them as like the montage, for the montage of the movie. You know what I'm talking about? The part where they add a little music and they show the stuff happening quickly. I think like Rocky 3, where Apollo, he's training Rocky, and Rocky can't quite get the bounce ball that he's trying to punch, and it's just going all over the place, and Apollo's in, he's like, boom, 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 and so it's like Rocky can't quite figure it out, and then like he's training on the beach, and like Apollo, he's like running faster than Rocky, backwards, and Rocky can't keep up with him, and so you see that in the music, the Rocky music, is going, and suddenly by the end of that song, now it's like Rocky's like sprinting past Apollo, and he can work that ball like nobody's business, and it's like he's figured it out. A montage, getting your character somewhere from like point A to point B, so you can carry on with the rest of the story that you're interested in. That's the way I kind of talk about genealogy. It's like, okay, I don't know anything about these people, but they're taking us from, okay, what happened with Cain and Abel, down to Noah. Okay, yeah, I know Noah, so let's pick up there. But we're going to actually go into these genealogies this morning, because what you're getting ready to see is you're getting ready to see two very unique families. And the way that Moses puts this down, and I believe the way that God inspired Moses to write down this information shows you God's heart for understanding the difference between these two families and how we as believers today, what it has for us. I'm going to hold off on until I get there too, okay? So and I'm not going to attempt to read this whole thing, but I'm going to be going through pretty much, we're going to be talking through the last part of Genesis 4 and all of Genesis 5. I'm not going to read all of it, so okay, I can only hear began so many times. Okay, we're going to take our time in just a couple of spots. And Jamie, when I get to it here in a little bit, if you want, you can just leave. When we get to it, I'm going to jump around a little bit. You can just leave verse 4:26 up on the screen here in a minute. Chapter 4, verse 26 up on the screen. So let's go ahead and let's start, though, in verse 17. So we're going to go down to that, and Jamie, whenever I kind of cut off, you just leave it there. So it says here in verse 17, Cain had relations with his wife, and she conceived. Wait a minute. This is one of those things that skeptics, they love to draw it out. I'm just going to just throw this in there because it's just funny to me. Skeptics love to throw a Christian and say, whoa, wait a minute. Cain's wife? Where'd she come from? All I know about is Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. Where'd the wife come in? But go and you look in Genesis chapter 5, it says, Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters. This is sister. That's who it was. And in that time period, that's all there was to go with. They were so close to the time period of the fall that their genetics were perfect. Still, they were basically, there was hardly no imperfections in their genetics, so that way that would work. So it's a sister that he had relations with, and she was his wife. And then it goes on and says that they gave birth. She conceived and gave birth to Enoch. And it says he built a city, talking about Cain. He built a city and called the name of the city Enoch, after the name of his son. Now, don't get confused, because next week we're going to talk about Enoch, and this is not the same Enoch. We're going to talk about the Enoch from Adam's line. And don't miss next Sunday. You don't want to miss next Sunday, because we're going to be talking about Enoch was a God walker. He was a God walker. And there's lots of other types of God people in our churches today that we're going to kind of look at that kind of sound like Enoch, but they're not exactly like Enoch. So don't miss next Sunday, because next Sunday is going to be kind of fun. So here we go. They had a child, named it Enoch. Dad built a city and named the city after his kid Enoch. And says, and now in verse 18, listen how quickly they scoop through genealogy here for Cain. Now to Enoch was born Irad, and Irad became the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael became the father of Methushael, and Methushael became the father of Lamech. Boom. That quickly, you go through several generations, and we know we're not catching every single person here. It's a genealogy of the very beginning of the world. But then it slows down a little bit and talks about Lamech. He says, Lamech took to himself 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. So he married Ada Zillah. And Ada gave birth to Jabal. Now listen to this. He slows down, and each one of Lamech's kids gets their own verse. He says, Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal, so Jabal and Jubal, and he was the father of those who play the lyre and the pipe. As for Zillah, she also gave birth to Tubal-Cain, the forger of implements of bronze and iron, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Now, I want to point out a few things here. No, we want to keep going to the very end, and then we'll finish it. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, notice this. This is Cain's descendant. Cain's descendant. We're making a few observations here very quickly. But listen to his callousness about life. Listen to what he says here. Ada and Zillah, listen to my voice. And if you see it in your Bible, it's written a little bit differently. It's almost written like in poetry or almost like lyrics. Ada and Zillah, listen to my voice. You wives of Lamech, give heed to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, and a boy for striking me. If Cain is avenged 7-fold, then Lamech 77-fold. And what you see here is remember how we talked about Cain? He had no heart to please God. So he gave a meaningless gift and God was pleased. God warned him about letting sin consume his life, but he didn't listen. He killed his brother. And then now, that same attitude has exponentially grown through his descendants. And now you have an exponentially more wicked descendant in Lamech, who whenever God told Cain, I'll give you a sign so that no one will kill you, that if they do, they'll be avenged 7 times what they did to you. Whether that means that their death would be that much more gruesome, whether they would just have to live, but they'd suffer a tremendous loss in their family, who knows? But here, Lamech, he comes forth boasting about it, saying, I killed 2 people. So God's really going to protect me. God's really going to make it bad for somebody if they try to do something for me. And really what he wanted was, God did that for Cain to limit bloodshed. Whereas for Lamech only wanted to multiply bloodshed. He wanted to be wicked. That was just who he was. And then finally here, though, it says in verse 25, Adam had relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and named him Seth, for she said, God has appointed to me another offspring in place of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth, to him also, a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. So the thing I want you to notice there very quickly, and if you take a cursory glance over chapter 5, I'm not going to attempt to have you sit still and listen to the whole genealogy that's there listed in chapter 5. But notice, Cain's genealogy is so fast. The same number of people in it, really, but it was so fast. You could hit it all in like 2 verses. Whereas, if you look at Adam's, every single person in Adam's genealogy gets 3 verses. They were born. It tells how many years they lived before they had the child that was the next in the genealogy on the way to Noah. And then it tells how long that they lived after that child. And it tells the total number of years of their life. And they died. And it goes on down the way until Enoch. Okay? Tune in next week. So, you see a definite difference there where the whole chapter of 5 is just like slowed down. And it's slowed down as if God is telling Moses, hey, make sure that they kind of lean in and they notice this. There's a major difference between these 2 families. What was it? First off, they rushed through Cain's genealogy, but look at what happened though here when it starts talking about, look at what happens here when we're talking about Lamech's kids. And I purposely went over it quickly so that I could come back and explain it to you here. In verse 19 it says, or verse 20 says, Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. He was literally the first nomadic herder. He started that. He was the father of those who did those things. That's kind of significant. Listen to what it says about the next guy, Jubal. It says he was the father, literally the first of those to play the lyre and the pipe. Who knows if... So literally what that's saying there is that with him, and you band members will appreciate this, he was literally, if he wasn't one of the first musicians, he was the first musician. Cain's line. Would you not say that that was kind of significant? Hey, there's a lot we do in our world with music today. Do you guys know, it's me nerding out for a second, that here soon there's going to be actually a movie about movie scores? It's going to be awesome, because movie scores make everything happen. So anyway, music is so important. It's so important. And so, I mean, it's a part of heavenly worship, so on and so forth. But here in this world, Cain's descendant, Jubal, was the first musician. And then you go on next and you hear about Tubal-Cain. And Tubal-Cain, it says, didn't say anything about him being the first forger, but it said that he was the forger of all implements of bronze and iron. That tells me that he was skillful. He was very skillful. All implements, basically saying, I would like to take that to mean that he could make anything. He could do anything. He was that skilled. It's kind of like my dad. My dad, I tell people whenever I like to draw. I like to do things with my hands. I like to fabricate things. It's fun for me. But I do have a bit of a skill that God has given me, a talent for drawing, taking something out of my head and putting it on a piece of paper. Nick's been in my house, and well, Gray's been in my house, but you guys have seen some of the things I've done before. But the sketches and things. And so I like to do those things. And sometimes I sat back and said, where did that come from? Because that's kind of like, I look at that as like a hereditary thing, you know, where you get that from a mom or dad. And so it's like, where did I get that from? And I looked at my mom, because she's taking pictures and stuff, and she enjoys photography, but I'm like, I'm not getting it. I'm not seeing it there. And then I look at my dad, and my dad, I tell you, you don't see him sitting down with a piece of paper and drawing something. But you put a welding torch in his hand, and he is an artist. He can make anything he needs with that torch. I grew up on a farm. And so whenever he needed some sort of special implement to do some special job to put on the front of the tractor or the front end loader or whatnot, he would custom it. He would just make it. And looking back on that, I was just like, wow, like my dad's pretty innovative. And so it was pretty cool to see how that works. That's Tubal-Cain. He could do that stuff. Cain's line was incredibly accomplished. And that's another piece, I believe, of God's grace. That even though that it was a very wicked line, you see the culmination of that there with Lamech singing a song about killing people to his wives. Okay, that line is the line that you get these firsts from, these great worldly achievements, including, do you notice what it said about Cain? God already cursed him and said, you're not going to till the ground anymore. And so what does Cain do? He becomes a city builder. Okay? Not an architect, city builder. He built a city. And then he named it after his kids, like, oh, I had a kid, okay, let's go. And I mean, plan to break the whole city grows up. Probably not. But it's just like, all of a sudden, can you imagine what would have been involved in that? Not just the building of it, but then the maintaining of how long it took. And it says, Cain did it. Again, more grace that's given to Cain. They were so accomplished. Whereas, I want you to just kind of glance through. Let me read a couple of verses. No, I'm going to wait on that. Read through, just glance at chapter 5 for a second. Just look through it, okay? I don't want to bore you with like reading the whole thing, but look at where you see there Seth in verse 6, and then you have Enosh, and then Kenan in verse 12, and Mahalalel in verse 15. Do you see anything about any kind of special accomplishments that they had there? Nothing. There's not a single nifty thing mentioned about what they did. Nothing. But listen to the difference here. Chapter 5, verse 1 says, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day when God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and created them, and named them man in the day when they were created. It's like, oh, where are you from this? We've already read this. We know this. You said it in chapter 1, and you said it in chapter 2. So here again we say, oh, here's God. He made a man, and he made him in his likeness. But then look in verse 3. It says, then Adam when he lived 130 years, he became the father of the son in his own likeness, which was in the likeness of God, according to his image, and named him Seth. And what you begin to see here is that while Cain's line was incredibly worldly accomplished, okay, they did great things in this world, that the world would stand back and say, wow, look at them, look at them, look at them. You don't see that in Adam's line, but it's very clear there in the scriptures that God says, I am continuing my program for the ages through Adam. And you get to see a point where you see Adam lives so long, here's this child, and then so long after that child, and then he dies. As if to say, Adam was born, not Adam, but say Enosh, Seth's son. Enosh was born, and then he lived so long and was being poured into things that dealt with eternity. Not things that just are temporary in this world. He was poured into by his dad Seth. And then he had his own child. And then he had all those years after that before he died to pour into them. Now we know that in chapter 5 here, these aren't the only kids that these guys had. They had other ones. But this is just the beeline, like literally zip, the beeline from Adam to Noah. Just connecting the dots. Alright? So, the difference that you see there, Cain's extremely wicked descendants, culminating in Lamech, who just wants to see as many people die as he can, to then Adam's line, who they poured into their kids as well, but something much more godly than what Cain poured into his children. So what was the ultimate difference between the two? Cain's line, they were focused on worldly achievement. They because think about it, while they had everything, while they were so accomplished, his line still ended at the flood. Done. For all their accomplishments, they didn't make it on the boat. Other people would pick up the musical instruments and how to make things with metal. Think about it. Noah built the boat for 100 years. Okay, his kids had time to learn a few things and then pass it on to people after the flood. But Cain's line, no matter how amazingly accomplished they were in this world, they had just like their father, they had no desire to please God. And so they went all the way down the road, investing their lives in this temporary world and not in matters of eternity. Whereas Adam's family, you don't see the great focus on the here and the now. And that's not to say that's not me slamming saying, hey, make something of yourselves. That's not, by no means. But where's your chief focus? Where's my chief focus? Is it on issues that touch eternity? Or is it just getting what I can get in this world here and now? Am I allowing my schedule to run me and keep me going and hypnotize me into the cosmic way of thinking? Or am I going to be deliberate and say, I'm going to inject godliness here. I'm going to inject eternity there. I'm going to inject eternity there. Adam's family did that. How do we know that? Because it culminated and gave us Noah. And even then, Noah's dad, Lamech, he said something similar to, he said something that tells you again that he was a follower of God. He says there in verse 29, he says, now he called his name Noah, saying, this one will give us rest from our work and from the toil of our hands, arising from the ground which the Lord has cursed. They had passed that down on and on and on and on and on again. That family followed it and honored God. That was their heart's desire. And so while Cain's line was incredibly accomplished, they didn't make it past the flood. Whereas Adam's family, on through Noah, they had no worldly accomplishments to speak of, but instead their accomplishments touched eternity. Adam's line focused on God. And you see that there whenever God chooses to continue his program on down through the line through Adam, there in chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. So finally, and lastly there, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me? We just talked about it in Ephesians. Whenever we finished that study up in Ephesians chapter 5, he starts talking about the dial, about being spirit controlled. He says, be wise, don't be unwise, but wise, and make the most of every opportunity, redeeming the time literally, as he says, so that you can, because the days are evil. If I'm not deliberate in being, in affecting this world for God, then the cosmic way of things, just the regular humdrum of every day is going to kind of run me to the end of my life, and I'm going to have missed it and missed my opportunity to inject eternity into someone's life. Think about it. You get caught up. Is this just my experience? You get kind of caught up in just the daily grind. Get up, eat breakfast, go to work, eat lunch, finish work, go home, eat supper, maybe throw something up on the television, go to bed, and repeat. Is that not easy to do? It is for me. If I'm not deliberate in my thinking. Put it another way. Whenever I was at, this was last summer, at camp, we did a Star Wars thing for the summer camps. It was awesome. It was great. But as part of that, we had some props to build, lots of props to build, and they turned out awesome. But my boss mainly wanted us to work on them after hours. And so me and my friend Hunter, we would put in this time in making these things. And Hunter had this grand plan. He had the plan. He was going to turn that whole gymnasium down there into like the universe and a big starship battle and all this stuff. In fact, we wanted to put, like when you're watching the Star Wars movie and you see like the opening crawl, it's like dun, 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 and all that stuff, the music goes away. And then the first one where then, I'm talking about the first one that's in like episode 4, it's huge starship. It comes in over your head at the beginning of the movie. You know what I'm talking about, those big triangle-shaped ships. We were going to make one of those, like 48 feet long. It was going to be awesome. It was going to be huge. It would have never worked. But we were going to do that. We had the plan. We did. I had these awesome sheets of like cardboard that we're going to glue all together. I was going to make a PVC frame, and then we're going to like attach it to it with zip ties and make it real secure and have several anchor points. And then we're going to hoist it up to the ceiling nice and easy. Yeah, right. And it's going to get up there. And my boss, he later comes and he says, he sees us working, and he can see this thing laid out on the floor, and he's like, I'm pretty sure this thing is going to like fall and kill like 3 small groups. And so it's like, so let's back off on this idea. So Hunter was all about that starship, but he's also all about the TIE fighters. I wanted to build an X-Wing. I wanted to build an X-Wing. I was like, man, it's so cool. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? TIE fighter, X-Wing, cool. Okay, we're still trying. So Hunter, he was like, no X-Wing, no X-Wing. I'm just like, dude, it's fine. You're the guy with the plan. You just tell me what to fabricate, and I'll fabricate it. And so I was having a blast. I was having fun building this stuff. And then he comes to me after, and Neil says, no small group crushing started for him. And he says, tell me about your X-Wing. And I was like, and so I started to build this thing. It was so cool. It was about maybe 12 or 13 feet long by about that same width in the wings, everything. And if you want to see, I might have a picture I can pull up somewhere and I can show it to you after the service. But man, it was so awesome. And I mean, I made this thing to scale, and it was cardboard sided up, and it had great anchor placement in the middle of it and everything. And man, I mean, the work we put in this thing, so much time. Literally, after work each week, Hunter and I put in 40 hours during the work. We put in that much. But then we put in another 40 to 50 afterward for about 3 weeks straight, at least. So we were working multiple full-time weeks each week. So like, I didn't see my kids like any during that time, I felt like. And so I'm there, and we get this thing made. We have to hoist it up to the ceiling with my truck. Okay, I set anchors up on the ceiling, and then we put like some really strong nylon ropes attached to it, and we pulled my truck forward. You see it go forward. We had a friend on my team, Russell. You guys know him. He's come here with me from church some, and we had him act like he was Darth Vader. He was like lifting it up while you could actually do a videoing it. You see the truck driving away in the background. But he was like, it was great. But we hoisted it up, and we got it in place, attached it with cable ties and all of this stuff, and it hung there for the junior camps and stuff. And the junior campers, I mean, they thought it was cool and all. We didn't maximize the effect of it that we could have. We didn't put the accent lighting that Hunter and I talked about. We didn't even get like the great, awesome music and sound effects going that we really would have liked to have done. So it just kind of hung there. It even had like little the battle droid, R2-D2, like sticking out the top of it. It was great. And so it was there and everything. It was like coming at you like sideways and everything. And summer ended, and you know where we landed up? Dumpster. Still. I probably had close to 120 hours in that thing. I mean, like, literally, so much time, folks, on making this thing just right. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of great hang time with Hunter, and he actually stepped off the staff not long after that, and he's now pursuing great ministry in church somewhere else. So I had great quality time with him before he headed out. So that was great, and I don't regret that. But the point I want you to see in this is I put so much time and so much of my heart, so much of my focus and desire into this thing. And still, at the end of the summer, at light speed, it flew right through the dumpster. And so that was it. And when you look at Cain's line, what they did was they put so much focus on not the right thing. I'm thinking, I told you a second, I said, I didn't feel like I saw my kids at all during that time. I didn't see them much. They had to come up and see me. And those hours, I mean, who knows, maybe I could have done something a little less spectacular, and I could have had more time at home. I could have had more time with my wife, kids. And but that time, again, at the end of the summer, just wound up at the dumpster. Are we investing ourselves in eternal things right now? Or could we be finding ourselves pursuing the same things that one day will amount to anything? Put it to you one other way. Think of somebody right now in your life. Think of somebody who is special to you, who influenced you. Good. Think of somebody that's special who influenced you greatly. Got them in your head? Yeah? Okay. Was it their wealth and their stuff that was like so cool to you? Is that what it was? Maybe their status or their power, maybe all of their accomplishments, you know, all their BFP trophies and stuff on their walls. Maybe that you're like, oh man, it's so cool to be like you. Was that what made them so special to you? No. No. It was their love for you. It was their depth of character, I would say. It was their time that they could never get back, and they chose to give it to you. That was what was so special to them. I mean, what was so special to you about that person. And so my question is, how easily, how quickly can we get to that place where we focus on all of those things that we say weren't really what made that person special to us in the beginning? How are you going to touch eternity this week? How are you going to touch eternity this week? You know, perhaps there's someone there in your workplace or someone in your family who needs to see Christianity lived out in their life. You know what? The world has heard a lot about Christianity, and sadly, so much of it is untrue and has turned people off from Christianity. How cool would it be if you, rather than just going in, I mean, think about it. Yeah, you can go and tell somebody about Jesus, and that's important, and we should. We should do that. But it's not the only way to touch eternity. How cool would it be if it was you that went, and rather than beating somebody over the head with that book, you went and you showed them instead. That's touching eternity. Maybe there's someone in your family who, they claim to be a believer, they're not in church. Maybe there's kind of like they feel like they're kind of just, maybe they don't feel like it, but you see it. They're going it alone spiritually. You could be there to scaffold them up, couldn't you? And does it mean that you have to like sit down in a little booth somewhere with a cup of coffee and say, now, open your Bible to Genesis 4, you know, for our weekly, hourly meeting? No. It could be just that time where you just check in with them, even as you're just walking down the hall or someplace at your work and say, how are you? And you're actually desiring a response other than fine. There's a friend of mine, some of you may know her name is Lori Calloway. And I tell you, she looks at you and she says, how are you doing? And she can see right through you. I mean, you know, she can see right through you. I mean, you know, fine is not an option when you talk to her. Tell her you're great if you're great, but if you're not, tell her. She wants to know. If you can be transparent enough with somebody who asks you like that, how are you doing? How are you doing? And you can kind of let yourself be a little bit vulnerable and share with them. If they didn't mean it, well, they won't ask again. But if they did mean it, well, then maybe they might be able to kind of come alongside and help you. But you can do that for somebody else. And at the end of the day, they're going to come a time whenever they think about God. At some point, they're going to think about God. And they're going to think, okay, who's someone close to me that I could go to and I could talk to about this? And because of you pouring into them and loving on them, hopefully they do come to touching eternity. Perhaps you know someone who's, whether a believer or not, that they just need your time to feel loved or to just know that God loves them. You could be there for them. Jesus, he said in Matthew 16, he said, whoever desires to save their life will lose it. It's not the real life. But he says, but if you lose your life for my sake, and that's the qualifier, you'll find it. You'll find real life. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about today. Not just living for the here and now, but living for the then and everyone else too. I want to pray for you guys as we get ready to take the offering. Our team's going to get back in place, and our offering bearer, our ushers are going to come on up. You guys can go ahead and stand to your feet. We're going to jump into some last minute, some final worship and the time for you guys to respond. But you guys go ahead and stand up, and you can bow your heads and close your eyes for a second. I just want to pray for you. And we'll go ahead and we'll ask you to bless this offering as well. Father, we love you. And right now, I just want to pray for a couple of things. One, I want to pray that you would help me, and I pray this prayer for everyone else in here as well, that you would help me be observant and see the people around me that I can connect with, that I can love on, and that I could inject a little bit of you into their life. And it might not necessarily even be like even mentioning your name, but Lord, showing them your love, because they need it. Lord, help me to see them. Help everyone else here to see them. I pray that you would give us all a little bit more boldness, a little bit more strength, a little bit more comfort with who we are in our relationship with you, that we can go out and we can say those things to somebody who need it. Father, I pray also for the people that we're going to encounter this week. I pray that right now that you would do something super scary for several people in here, that you would bring people across our path, Lord, that need you. Whether they don't know you as Savior and they're ready to receive you, or whether they're just having a rough time and they just need to know that there's someone out there that cares. And by showing them that we care, we can actually show them that you care. Father, I pray that you would do that. Lord, we're taking offering now, and you, Lord, you know what all this is going to be used for. I pray that you would bless the offering and bless the ministry that happens as a result of it. Lord, we love you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. You may be thinking of somebody right now that you can go to. Somebody's come to your mind already that says, this week I'm going to go and I'm going to touch that person. I'm going to go and I'm going to reach them. Just let them know that I care. Maybe now's the time you need to actually spend a little time and be praying for them right now. Ask the Lord to give you the boldness you need to get in there. You've got what it takes. You've got the Holy Spirit in you. You've got what it takes. Real life. Letting our lives inject eternity into life. If there's any area that you need to deal with the Lord with right now, you can come up here, the altar is open, or you can make a decision right there where you are. You can pray. You can have a seat and pray and ask the Lord to use you this week. And if you need to talk with me, I'll be right back here. But right now is your time.